Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Harry. I'm the marketing coordinator here at Bluestream. And today, obviously, we're going to be talking about painless DITA adoption for AI-ready content. This is a joint webinar hosted by Protech Plus and sponsored as well and co-starred by Bluestream. So without further ado, I'm going to just pass it over to Andrew for a little bit of an introduction. Andrew, take it away.
Thanks, Harry. You can go on to the next slide just for...
Yep.
So I'm Andrew Douglas. I'm the Business Development Manager today. As Harry introduced so well, we're going to be discussing about painless DITA adoption, and especially with regards to AI-ready content, which is becoming a thing. And so today we're going to discuss an option for doing this that's painless. And my partner, Jean-Philippe, is going to introduce himself now.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Harry. My name is Jean-Philippe. You can call me JP, so it's just easier. I do have a long French name. Sorry about that. So my role is I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Protech Plus. We're specialized in technical documentation and everything that goes around it. So really involved with Bluestream as well. So like Andrew said, we're almost colleagues, we're partners, and we're used to work together since almost 15 years now, I think. So.
Excellent. Next slide, Harry. So brief introductions. What is the purpose of this high level? What is the purpose of this presentation today? Well, one of the things that we've seen in the market is that definitely the DITA is being recognized as the gold standard for AI-ready content. And the reason for that, that's a big statement, but the reason for that is that it's very highly structured and it's component-based. And why is that important in AI-ready content? Because that really informs the LLMs and the mechanisms by which you're delivering AI content as to how the relationships within this content works. And why that's really important in enterprise content is that a lot of times in enterprises, you're using terms and you've got relationships between products and versions, et cetera, that are very custom to the organization itself. So, if you've got a product line that you refer to in a certain way, if you've got a new version that you refer to in a certain way, the AI is definitely not going to pick up on that, but you can certainly inform that type of content relationship within the AI by using stuff such as, using formats such as DITA. The presentation today is really going to highlight the challenges, though, of moving into DITA. So why isn't everyone moving into DITA if this thing is, if this format is so strong? Well, it requires quite a steep learning curve in many cases. So you need specialist authoring knowledge. You need to really look at, especially with AI, the considerations of how you're going to put your structure together and how you're going to tag, so metadata that you're going to use in your content model. Content migration, which is very painful, which we're going to touch upon later in this presentation as well. And even areas such as, what content should go over, what content shouldn't go over, and why, especially, not just in the delivery of a portal, but then AI considerations further down the line. You've then got areas such as output formatting, because in many cases, DITA is an XML standard, it's extensible, so you can output to PDF, you can output to HTML, you can output to third-party resources, and of course you can output to LLMs in a structured way, so whether that framework is using GraphRag, et cetera, which we're not going to go into today, we don't need to, but obviously it can also be utilized for chatbots, and then onto AI projects in general. It's a foundation for AI projects. The key to this as well is that in a lot of cases, you've really got design considerations as to how you should be putting these things together, how they should be delivering, because what you're looking for ultimately as an organization isn't really a study of DITA. It's a study of how do you get the right answer to your users that are coming into your organization's support framework. If they ask a question, how do you give them the right answer in the right context? Obviously, AI opens up a whole new capability level, which has been discussed infinite times out there, but it also comes with certain challenges. And for certain organizations, and this could be even large organizations, you don't have this specialist knowledge, or you're a smaller organization, then this is just too cost prohibitive and too difficult to approach. So how on earth do you do an AI support strategy when you've got all of these challenges? Today, we're going to really look at that, with the end goal being that really the first move that we're seeing in the support framework is the chatbot delivery and the testing of that chatbot and how that actually occurs either now or in the future. How are you readying yourself for that? Next slide, Harry. So on to Protech Plus, please, JP.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew, again. So Protech Plus, what it is, we're a specialized technical publication company. We exist since 2020, so 2020. In March, directly into the COVID, that we got incorporated. We are definitely used to work with several different industries, different enterprise. I've been myself involved in technical publications for more than 25 years now already, and we're doing everything that goes around the engineering. So to document the product, the system, it goes to the technical translation. Obviously, we're specialized French to English, English to French, but we can support another language as required. Project management, exactly for these type of projects that we're talking about, migration projects, documentation structure, everything to support a company that struggle with the large quantity of documentation scattered everywhere. That is really, really common. Probably a lot of companies during that webinar, they are struggling with that reality. Documents are like in several SharePoint. SharePoint has been really, how can I say, a new tool that exploded in with COVID. That the physical servers got migrated to SharePoint servers, and people couldn't find anything, so they just dumped information just everywhere. So people are struggling. So we can help them out just to restructure everything, migrating or not, to DITA. And if I can go back just one thing on what you were saying, Andrew, for the previous slide, the 2 points where companies struggle the most, for what I can see, and we'll be able to discuss a little bit more, is actually the migration portion. So what is being transferred inside the actual data, inside the CCMS, into the delivery portal, and the delivering to other outputs like PDF. Getting the information inside the system, and after that you need to be able to process it in order to be delivering it, whether it's a PDF or web-based. These two things are often underlooked and really underestimated, and that can be a pitfall for some migration projects. And yeah, that's about it for what we do.
Next slide, Harry. So yeah, what's great about JP as well is that for organizations that are really looking at this and are heading up documentation teams, JP was actually sat in your role some time ago before he was working at Protech Plus. So it's not only the fact that he understands, this isn't a pitch for DITA. If DITA is right for you, then this is definitely a strategy and a structure that you should use. But JP in general is able to come in and look at your organization because he's been sat there and has a lot of experience in doing this. And then once you do projects of this nature, you find that they're repeating a lot in this way. So he's able to give strategies and structures that, as he's saying, there's commonality. So there's SharePoints, there's PDFs, and a lot of this challenge is really around content strategy and content modeling. But having come from this industry and been in that role, he's able to, certainly from the clients that we've worked with, he's able to speak their language and understand the position that they're in, which is also really beneficial, especially with this AI piece coming up. So a bit about Bluestream. We mentioned there about kind of DITA and about portals. So one of the things, Bluestream's been in this marketplace for quite some time. We've been working with DITA for over 2 decades, but we've also got 2 solutions out there in the market. So one is XDocs, which is our CCMS. This is a system in which you'd author a structured content like DITA. There are competitive solutions out there. We do really well in manufacturing because we have several key pieces that are required for manufacturing, something called release management that handles your versions really well. You can see from our website that we do really well in manufacturing, but we also do projects in other areas such as regulations, etc., that have these similar types of requirements. But a couple of years ago now, certainly for the portal that handles not only DITA, but also third-party content, we delivered a solution called X Delivery. And why this is so important is that it's tied very well with the authoring system. It utilizes the same databases. It's able to publish very easily. It's able to handle translations very easily. But also what that enables you to do as a project, and very cost effectively, which again, this is one of the challenges in this organization, is costs. Like, not only have you got to move now, you've got content migration, you've got content strategy, you've got training. Now you've also got the portal to deliver, and then you've got an AI strategy on top to deliver, and things even like token costs, et cetera, et cetera. So what we've tried to do is deliver really good enterprise level software within a very good pricing structure. So definitely, I think for the level of solution we provide, we're the most cost-effective solution out there. And in combination with X Delivery, so to deliver your portal, you're not then having to go to a third party and having to then have 2 points of contact if problems occur. You're not having to spend on these two systems to a really high degree. And the key of this is the integration between those two platforms, which is really nice. Because as we're going to see in a latter slide, one of the core points about chatbots is that they really need to be deployed in conjunction with a portal, because they're handling very different things. One is Q&A, and if you have multiple questions and answers, and one is learning, and we'll touch on that later. So X Delivery, one of the notes about it, if organizations are looking out there for a delivery portal, is that it doesn't just handle DITA, but it also handles third-party content. So we have clients that have done ASCII docs deployments on it. It's able to really handle that structure and strategy to get it in there. Now, one of the points that JP just made is, okay, well, what do I put into DITA and what do I not put into DITA? Well, what X Delivery allows you to do is still handle that legacy content and handle the more structured content as well. And you might have multiple forms of that. You might have some markdown files, you might have some PDFs, you might have video. And what's happening within these portals now is, especially with AI, is like, as much as possible, you're trying to unify this into a single experience. And that's what X Delivery allows you to do, whilst having a really tight integration into XDocs. So on to the next slide. So now on to JP as to, well, obviously we've been working with JP as a partner, and JP had the option to choose amongst a whole slew of technologies that are out there. So this is really a description for why our software fitted well into JP's business model. On to you, JP.
Yes, exactly. So basically, in my past experience, I was in charge of, well, quite massive technical publication department, handling several projects, several teams on several regions in the world. And we were trying to find a tool that can basically answer these needs. And when I was analyzing every possible, well, tools out there at the time, Bluestream came out the bunch, because the flexibility of that solution, that tool, is really, really nice. Basically, you can adapt and not custom. Custom is not a good word, because it's not custom. It's really making the tool work specifically for your need, like out of the box. So it is a tool that you can tackle any type of challenges that you have, and not only that you can deploy in a flexible way into multiple teams, and that can be totally flexibility is the key word in there. I was surprised by the way some tools are, how can I say, there's a lot of fuzz and looks to it, but when you open the hood and you're trying to accomplish like specific deliveries, specific tools, specific usage, that you hit a wall and you cannot adapt it, and you cannot arrive to publication or to really get your procedure out there. And that's what was appealing with Bluestream, and the XDocs combined with the X Delivery. The X Delivery portion itself, when I was first presented of that tool, basically my mouth just opened, because the ease of import of the information, even if it's not coming from XDocs, was unbelievable. You can use all your legacy data if you don't want to migrate it for whichever reason. Of course, if it's in DITA, it's more powerful, but sometimes the cost is really really intense to migrate all the content. So just using the legacy PDF, you can adapt, you can add some metadata to it, you can configure the publishing in order to make it usable for your research, to order it and put taxonomy on top of it, so you can structure the searchability for it, and it makes it really, really powerful. And the expertise in the manufacturing sector, like Andrew was saying, a lot of tools are not made to handle like configuration and everything that relates to any type of tools, of machine, of train, like the ones that's going to be hitting me in my back. But it's really what make us choose and specialize, if I can say, using a Bluestream suite.
Excellent, JP. So on to the next slide. So one of the things that I thought we would do, because that's all great in theory, but how's this conclusion really come around? Well, this conclusion's come around in JP's world because he's obviously working with us and he's dealing with clients that have issues, and they're not all the same. So it's not just about our technology being a fit, but also we have flexible software. But I think what's really powerful about the message today is that Protech Plus also have a flexible engagement options.
Yeah.
So they're not coming to you like a traditional consultancy saying, okay, well, we only do this, we do that, we do this. It's more configured for your needs. And I think these two client examples really illustrate the different types of models. And these are not definitely the full library of projects that JP is doing, but I think they give two good insights into how you can basically work with Protech Plus successfully. And so this first client example one, obviously we're not naming the clients, but they're certainly active clients and working with both of us. So JP, if you'd like to
Yes.
describe this first client example for us, thank you.
Yes. Actually, it's funny because I was talking about just the slide prior to this why we use XDocs, and it's because of the flexibility. And basically that's to reflect our reality as a company, because my company, one reason that I consider Protech Plus to be different is the flexibility we offer. There's nothing in a box, and no needs are the same. There are some similarities, of course, but every customer is different. Every needs is different. Every size, every team, everything. So our goal is really to adapt to a given set of that company. For that specific example, we're talking about a large manufacturing company. It's international, has offices in Asia, in the US, everywhere, basically almost in the world. And they have documentation coming from headquarters that are really abroad, and also some documents that are being created internally from engineers, from SMEs, from a lot of different things out there. Information scattered. They are struggling to find the information, and their goal was to centralize everything, not only in terms of location, but also in terms of format. That's also a problem that customer experience most of the time. It's being you're delivering a procedure for one customer, and it's the same product or almost, and it's going to be completely different to another customer. You need to start over again. You need to reanalyze everything. Okay, this is good, this is not good, this is good, this is not good, and compile a new procedure for that, a new document, a new manual, whatever. And it's struggling with this. And after that, all the experts may be the same. They can be different. They can be on a different time zone and everything. So basically, for that specific customer, you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of documents that are different on the platform of the product that they're selling, and as well as for the actual customer and project that this product is being delivered. So their goal was to not only centralize and create that data standard to facilitate and accelerate and standardize future deliveries, but it's also using the X delivery portal to streamline and centralize the access of the information, and basically like a Google page would enable you, if I can use something that everybody knows, right? So you would just search your information in there with keywords, and the system basically is all indexed, and that you can find the information easily. And after that, you can apply filters to say, okay, no, I'm looking specifically on this type of product, this type of project, and to really simplify the experience, both for the internal customers, so internal users of that company, engineers, sales representative, people doing services and everything, doing the installation and the field and everything related to it, but as well as for the end customer to access its manual, its information, throughout all these permission schemes and everything to their fingertips. So it's really the goal of that customer. So it's the team involved for a project that huge is surprisingly narrow to just a few person that handles everything throughout the entire company. And the end users, we can help to create documentation, of course, Protech Plus, we can support them, that's what we do, but they can do it internally as well. And we basically communicate in the same environment using that same CCMS and pushing information to their portal and to simplify everything. And for the end customer, it looks like it's just coming from the same output, same input, if I can say so, same source of information being created there. So the internal team is fully involved, fully communicates all the requirements. The workflow is being built specifically for their need, with good not lesson learned, but things that just make sense normally with the review cycle, workflow approval, editing, and everything like this. And then it's being pushed to the portal, and it can be automated, it can be manual. Again, you can custom all of this output in order to make what works for the customer at the end based on their actual needs. So that's one of the big strength of a project like that. And more that the project is being advanced, the more and more information is being available. So the AI chatbot will be able to learn even more and more and more based on the actual documents and the actual information for that customer, which is the key, because we're talking about AI, and that's the main key. And maybe I can make a side note already with this. That's the goal of that webinar, is to learn a little bit about AI, and that's what people underestimate greatly. ChatGPT's Copilot, Claude, all of these tools are amazing for anything that is general, that exists out there. Customers that work on specific machines, specific equipment, it's not out there. It doesn't exist. So the limitation of the AI arrives at that point. In order to make AI work into a specific environment, you need to build that model for that specific information in your environment, in your box. So how you're making this is you're maximizing with DITA, which is a structured content, all spread out, and some elements, some information metadata that you can build that learning model into a specific information that exists solely for that customer, to that environment, basically. And if you're not doing this, you're limiting yourself into just generic AI. So the information, the answer will be generic. They will not be specific. If you wanted to search something really, really exact on one specific product, well, you can search in that product with keywords. But if you want the AI to come up with something custom, you need to fill and to make that machine learn with actual data. And the best way for this is with DITA, because it will maximize that strength and that learning for your learning system, whether you're using ChatGPT, Copilot, or something else. I don't know if anything you want to add to this, Andrew?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. And, the amount of focus that requires is a challenge, but also a benefit, because once that foundation's put in place, it's a harder piece of work to get to the end goal today. There's no doubt about that. But when you get that type of foundation in place, then the benefits and the ongoing benefits of that framework are going to be huge, because essentially you've cracked the AI puzzle there. Yes, there might be some new variations, et cetera, but once you've got that foundation, you're really in good shape. And the other thing I'd say about organizations that are looking to do this, and this just isn't just a plug for Protech Plus and saying, okay, go and use them, but really to pull in a consultant that's got expertise in this type of area is hugely beneficial. Not that you don't have skills on the team, but the more that you do this type of exercise, the more you understand the gotchas, because you can make mistakes that can have significant challenges going down the road. And the final piece, if you're really behind the delivery of a portal rather than AI, and you're like, okay, well, I've got to do this before I get there. One note on delivering a portal, I've done this for years, is do not be so concerned about getting the portal correct 100% for the phase one, because you've never had this portal up there. And what's brilliant about having a portal as part of your strategy is that you can really navigate what your users are looking for. You're going to be informed a lot in that. So there's things they're going to find within the portal that you'd expect them to, and they don't find them. And there's things that you expect them to don't find, and they will find them. And so having a number of iterations of that portal over the first year is really important. So what I'd say about that in a technology consideration is you really want a delivery platform that you're able to very quickly manipulate that data, the metadata, the permissions, etc. Do that very easily, because you're going to be morphing that as you move forwards. And the second thing is that as you move that strategy forwards and you get it more and more correct, which is basically the structures you're putting into the content and the way in which you're putting those relationships together to get the answer, that will be hugely beneficial when you're doing something like a chatbot. So don't be so worried about, okay, I need to go to the board and then I need to promise them that we do this, this, and this. Yes, have a plan, but maybe that plan is, look, we launch with a chatbot and we do that with a portal, and we do that for the first 9 months. We get all of our content working very well, which is in the case of this client, this is exactly what they're doing. Get all their content doing well, and then from there we'll take that and do the chatbot. Now, that can be a hard message to swallow from your executive sponsors, your C-suite, as they call them, the corporate executives. But if you come up with a plan and explain why that plan is efficient, it's going to be much better than launching with something that does very poorly. Because what's happened with this whole support, and especially with the AI tag on the front of it now, is that this is front and center. It's fully visible. It's getting a lot of eyes on it. It's become a very important initiative in the organization. You want to get it right rather than making false promises. And certainly, I think you've seen that, JP, in these projects.
Oh yeah, and something more to this, to go back to that specific customer, we almost did not migrate anything. So it was the goal to deal with all the legacy stuff as legacy information, and to build information from now on, understanding for the customer that anything that is not in DITA will be less powerful for searches and for information for reuse, but it can be usable. And after that, to use starting from now and building information more and more into DITA, because it makes sense, obviously, but it's to avoid that weight and that pricing for the business case and the information to the upper management to understand, to have the bang for your buck as quickly as possible. That's also something that it's often, you don't need to bring everything into the that DITA language in order to be usable. That's not true. It will still be usable, less powerful, but usable. So it will depend on the case.
Yeah, and that's a big factor as well, which is why it's good to have a consultant in the room as well, is that, as JP said, no two projects are the same, but also AI hasn't changed the fact that the way in which you do this is going to be driven by your business model. So how are you delivering that information? What kinds of engineers do you have working on a product? What kinds of questions are looking to be? They all differ in slightly ways. Yes, there's learning that we gain in all of these projects, but especially for things like manufacturing and more complex areas like regulatory approvals and all of these types of things, you can get into very, very, very specific areas where AI is making it even more important to consider your business model rather than, hey, this fits this shape. Here's some general frameworks we've got, but we really need to look at your content, your challenges, your business model, because this is a custom project in certain ways that needs to be that way to succeed. Correct. Hugely important. Great point, JP. On to the next slide. Harry, please. So this is a secondary client that you're working with, and this was a different model. And here's a smaller client. So these issues can be even more pertinent in smaller clients. Things we've mentioned, custom budget. It's not that you have a smaller support issue, but you've got certainly, maybe a smaller pot. And maybe a smaller resource pool to achieve these things. So if you'd like to describe this one, JP, it'd be great.
Yes, that project was really interesting, and the reason why we decided to talk about this one during that webinar is the way that project evolved. The first time I met with that customer, first they had the vision to basically be guided but do everything internal. They wanted to be doing themselves the information, transferring everything, using the CCMS, publishing, doing everything relating to publication and usage, because it was seen by a few person in the team that it's easy, right? Technical writing is easy. We just do Control C, Control V. Everybody knows that, right? So hopefully there are some technical writers on the webinar that can relate to that sentence. They probably heard that before. And that's obviously is not true. We are fully integrated to teams, and we're bringing a different vision to the engineers of their product, of their project. So basically how that project, that migration project, or well, conversion project, if I can say, began, was really into the, okay, we'll just determine what is the scope in order to migrate the information, to implement a CCMS, and with their requirements, when we build the requirements for them before bringing Bluestream around the table. It really arrived to Bluestream in an easy and quick manner, just based on their requirement. They were looking at something really powerful. They didn't want to migrate everything. They wanted to just focus for the future, something that can be accessed everywhere throughout the world, because their main environment is in North America, but their customers are everywhere. They're everywhere in the world. So they wanted to have something really powerful to that route, being able to deliver the information to the customers basically immediately, getting out of the sending a PDF, or okay, go on that site, send an email to that guy, and knowing. And as well as their internal support team, they were having more and more projects, more and more contracts. The business is really going well, and now they're struggling with their internal people. So they need to support their customers, and being less and less, more and more loaded with basically one more customer adds the equivalent amount of work. So to a certain degree, it's not workable, because you're limited. You need to hire people. When you are improving the searchability, the information being not only accessible but is configured based on the actual customer, you're definitely quicker to find the information, quicker to answer. You can provide the information directly to the customer, make them autonomous as well, like providing some key user, more trained user, to the actual information, that they can self guide themselves to the information. So for all of these reasons was the goal, to improve and to implement these type of tool. And more that we went inside deeper and deeper on the project and starting to implement it, they came out themselves to the realization that, oh, we're not equipped to do this internally. We don't want our engineers to write. We want our engineers to engineer, right? to basically build their product, create their product. And so they came out to their own conclusion that we don't want to own this. Of course, it's theirs. They're not honing in terms of proprietary, but they don't want to be responsible to create all this. So, and the way we are building that specific implementation for that customer is we're basically implementing in our instance of Xdocs on our side, Protech Plus, and with all the use case, the user driven permission scheme and everything. And after that, we can publish it to our portal, whether it's a portal owned by us and that they can access, or we can publish it eventually to their portal that they will own. So that power and that strength is really, really flexible, because you can either have the customer being responsible for its instance of Xdocs with everything related to it, like IT-wise, cost-wise, structure-wise, responsibility, or we can build that content directly in our instance with their templates, their style sheets, everything. It would be no difference whether it's being done in their instance rather than our instance. But we have the flexibility that we know how to do. It's quicker implementation. Our instance work. Everything is so the being ready to publish something arrives really, really quick because we can just implement the information based on their data and arrive at something publishable, usable really quickly, and then making a project or a plan that will make sense for that customer to own its portal. So the X delivery will eventually be so that customer will be responsible and will be able to put some data in it, handle all the metadata, adding some coding for product projects, customers, receiving customers accesses to provide accesses and everything. So this flexibility evolved from the beginning of the project, that they wanted everything, they wanted to handle it. And at first, money was not an option, of course. A lot of customers are like that. And at the second you start discussing about numbers, it's okay, let's do it in phases after that. No problem, we can adapt. And we build that. It's just normal. Money is always important. When a customer tells me that money is not important, it's a red flag. It's like, okay, we will arrive there eventually. And my goal is really pragmatic. It's really, let's go. The goal is to make sure that it will work on the long run. My goal is not to arrive there at the customer and just make a sale and after that run away. No. I want to make sure that customer is satisfied, that he has the tool that he needs, he has the documentation that he needs, and that on the long term it will work. That's the goal, both for Bluestream, both for myself. Our goal is to make long-term business relationship with our customers. So that's how the product just builds, and it's stronger and stronger every release and every iteration.
Yeah, that's a great overview, JP. And I think as well the fact that this began with an AI-based chatbot, and yet, just like we've been discussing, it really needed a step back to get everything in order. But once they've got this in order, they're going to be in a really strong shape.
Yes.
And this project was coming from the CEO as well, that I thought was quite unique. That he was a smaller company, and he really had this. He knew he had a support issue, and then, like many organizations that are out there, they see AI and think, "Wow, there's a great opportunity here." But being able to educate the steps to get to that opportunity is vital, because, and this is whether you're using consultant or not, to be able to communicate that internally so that you're going to get there. Because again, there's much more eyes on these projects now that you've got an AI chatbot or other AI initiatives in this type of thing. So
yes, and like you're saying, Andrew, and I should have started that. It was the first line on that slide, and I did not emphasize. But the goal, the beginning of that project, really started with the AI, and it was coming from the CEO. So they wanted to maximize AI and usability. But again, and it's a common statement, common reality that we know. People see AI as easy, as automatic, because it exists out there. Everybody knows ChatGPT. They provide a sentence, oh, that makes sense, it's perfect. Translation, same thing. So translation is being seen as, oh yeah, but AI does it all for you. Yeah, but no, right? For those of you that use AI tools for translation, it will be good for anything general again. But at the second you arrive with technical and the really details, well, that word that is not correct changes everything in that sentence. So even if the AI will bring you to somewhere, you still need the natural intelligence to make it to the quality level for that company. But again, there's always more than one way to address. So AI is, and at the second the AI comes into part, you have to have a structured authoring system. You cannot just rely on legacy information and PDF and Word documents. You have to have that structured content that you can build and make your learning management system to learn the right information.
Yeah, and I think what has been learned in the past, because really it's been the last year where people have been really deploying these projects. What they've learned is that unstructured content doesn't work. Everyone's still scratching their head. Okay, well, how do I need to structure it? How do I need DITA? Do I not? We actually had a webinar some months ago where we were discussing different types of content. This was with an internal colleague in a different organization. We were discussing different content repositories and how they worked on, and the one thing that was lowest was PDF. It was the very hardest thing. Then Markdown is slightly better, etc., etc. But again, there was a reference of a project there that was Uber that did from like, I think it was like web pages to Markdown. Well, that sufficed for their AI project because they really didn't need that level of granularity. They were looking for custom responses. It gave them enough data to pull it back, to push at the AI, and to get the kind of responses and information that they needed. Unfortunately, in these support projects, we're a lot more granular. It's a lot more complex. Like the struggle of delivering a portal alone has been quite a challenge in these areas. While that same metaphor is applying to AI, it's just, again, it's like, I want it quickly. I want this thing done. I want this delivered. Because of course it offers new opportunities, like we've said, but really structuring, like JP's outlined there, the manner in which you approach this, and also what skills have you got as an organization? How can those skills be enhanced? Do you really want to take this on? And we've seen two examples there are very different. Okay, one organization is doing a lot more internally, but still needed help in this way. The other organization came to the realization, hey, we just don't have the staff and we don't want to create that staff. We don't want to create that kind of resource in our organization. And what's very common, especially in the manufacturing world, is the engineers. They're creating these new products.
Yeah.
They're never going to become technical writers. You're really trying to extract that out. Okay, you've got AI, but AI does not solve that problem of getting that content into these structures. And again, what JP's done for this client that I think is so powerful is he's given this initial framework that from now, it really is a powerful framework. So not only are they going to get a portal delivered in the future that's really going to work, and these guys are, the other thing that I should note in these models, and this isn't the case for everyone, but there's a lot of custom, either we're delivering a lot of custom machines to people that is very, very challenging, or we're taking components from, components that are reused across a whole number of systems. We have to put those together. And I think what JP said there, and what I don't see in the organization still, especially when we're looking at these more complex projects, is the need for the ability to be able to adapt, both in a technology and in a consulting model, to deliver that model. And there are definitely failures out there in organizations or projects that go on, and you don't just throw money at this thing. This isn't about you throw money and this is solved. It really requires time as well. Yes, you need investment, but you need time and you need to do things, and you're going to have realizations at certain stages. Now, I know that's not the perfect message to necessarily give the board, but if you're communicating projects of this nature, then it's vital that these things are mapped out correctly, because they will not succeed otherwise. They really won't in these more complex metaphors.
Not only that, the scope requirements is critical in 110% of the projects I've been involved. So there's none that the scope requirements are less important. It's always critical, because you need to determine what needs to be done, and the step that you will follow needs to be in line with the company and the sponsors, who is giving the money, who will be contributing. And again, no companies are the same, so you need to be aligned in the business case. So those of you that are trying to implement a project like this, one of my advice for you is make sure you do have a business case aligned with your key stakeholders, who's going to be paying for this in turn. It can be money, it can be time, or whatever, to make sure that they see the return on investment the way they want to see it. So, and this doesn't have to be complicated. We can support doing that, obviously, but it doesn't need to be complicated. But it's a key point of success into an implementation project, because you need to define what is important. Where should I work to implement it properly? Is it to save some cost in terms of creating the information? Is it to access the information? Is it to be more state of the art? Is it to be, all companies are different, but it's really, really important, because what's important, in my opinion, is not necessarily important for the customer. When I talk to a customer, okay, fine, I do have opinions, okay, but it's not important. I need to make sure that what the customer needs, what is the importance, what are the struggle into that company, to make sure that whatever we'll be doing, no matter how it is, whether it's implementing just the X delivery, X stocks, whatever, it can be anything, but to make sure that it's aligned with that company and with the structure. That's really, really key.
And I think as well, the message out of this is that the AI goals, although they might not be there immediately to be achieved, they're very, very achievable when they're structured correctly in these projects. Like, we are not saying that, because there's a lot of this information, AI is good or AI is bad. AI is as good as you approach it.
Yes.
And it's an incredibly powerful tool, but it also has complexities and nuances to it that need to be accounted for. And that includes communication, like JP stated there, that includes communication to your sponsors. Yes. Because they've got other people that are saying to them, hey, we really, and this is a perfect use case for AI is in the support metaphor of an organization when they've got these challenges. And, as someone that's from outside this organization, well, why can't I just get my chatbot that solves all of these problems? I would be asking that if I wasn't from this industry. And so to educate those sponsors but then say to them at the same time, this is fully realizable. We can get you there, like for sure. And here's the context in which you should be doing it. So with that in mind, would you like to jump onto the next slide, Harry?
Yes.
So as we've just said, we've been mentioning chatbots a number of times. Well, I certainly have in this webinar. So they're not the only deliverable, obviously, from AI, but they tend to be the first step in organizations, in the support organizations of them doing their AI projects. The number one consideration that we've seen is that you really want to deploy this following a portal. So get your portal in order and make sure it works, because the chatbot in context with the portal is a very powerful metaphor. So not only that, you can, when you do the chatbot, you can also reference which stacks of information, which areas of information the chatbot has utilized, because people are going in and they're not trusting the chatbots due to AI hallucinations now. So your team, or your customers or your engineers, they can go in and they can check those resources once they've got a portal. The second thing is, if I'm an engineer and I'm looking, I've got a specific question. Now the question's been answered, but I really want it in context of how that machine's working or how that component works. Well, I've got the reference material for my learning within the portal. So what you've now given is a complete set of support tools to your customers that are really, really powerful. Usually it's the first step, as we've said, but what we also want to say is that getting all of this content into organization enables you to deliver a portal, enables you to deliver a chatbot, but also enables you to deliver on future AI considerations, whatever they be. Because now you've got a really nice structured pool of content that not only is there, but when you add to it, you're also doing that same metaphor to allow all of these relationships to exist. As JP said there, and is really important, every project really differs depending on your requirements. You might not even need DITA. We mentioned the Uber project there. Might not be a requirement. But what we see certainly in support and certainly in manufacturing is that this becomes more and more and more important because of the complexities in these industries that's apparent. And if you go out, portal strategies are hard to get. Now you've got AI that's landed on you. And JP's just mentioned a really important point as well, is these are big challenges to be done with pretty limited human resource teams. These teams, even in mid organizations, tend to be like 4 or 5 people that are doing these. In smaller organizations, there might be 1 or 2. So how do you get there when you've got this incredibly complex challenge and it's going to take you an amount of time and investment and you've got few resources internally? Well, this model can really, I think Protech Plus's model can really help to solve that problem should you need it.
And one thing we did not, well, we talked, but not clearly, and that's something that when you were talking, Andrew, it made me thought. One of the strengths of Bluestream, again, it's the fact that, yes, XDocs, so the CCMS, works really, really hand in hand with the X delivery tool. But for a smaller organization that you don't need to build everything in the CCMS, you can maximize the use just of the X delivery tool by itself and use it standalone, if I can say, as a repository for your information and handling your metadata directly in it. So you don't have to have the XDocs CCMS in order to use the X delivery portal, which is definitely a plus. It's really a powerful tool, and that just putting the PDF, even if it's only PDF and it's not the best to use AI to it, but at least it will be centralized, and you can make the AI model learning on these bigger chunk of information, so you will be more limited in the precision of the searches, but still you can use it. And this is a powerful offer that Bluestream actually has to offer, just to use DX delivery by itself for smaller enterprise.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. And, as I mentioned earlier, we've got clients that just use this for Markdown and ASCII docs and that type of thing. They have no CCMS. Mm-hmm. And, clients that are looking at this for PDF delivery and do thousands and thousands of very large PDFs. Are we saying that that's the ultimate strategy? No. But in their case, they've got a lot of legacy documents that they're phasing out over the next 2-3 years. And their challenge is really tagging and permissioning. And the one thing I don't see in the delivery tier, again, everyone's looking at the fancy elements, but the core of this is enabling really simple tagging and permissioning of that content.
Yes.
Because it's unstructured and you can't really do that at the minute. So and even if that's not the perfect step, as JP said, that tagging and permissioning, the AI is watching that. It's watching all of that content and the way in which it works. So yeah, the message isn't definitely come over. I think the message is, if you're sat there, then it really requires a look at your business requirements as to what is correct. And that includes, is DITA correct? What's your migration strategy? Will this suffice? It really depends on the type of project you're doing and how you're approaching it.
Exactly.
Next slide, Harry. So really some conclusions here. I think what we said today is Protech has got a great model that can be morphed into different user requirements. That definitely AI is pushing this front and center more. It's more and more important that you get these things right. Portal is definitely a good first step in aligning all of this information, getting it right, provides a foundation for your AI strategy. And cost is a big consideration. Like let's many organizations are moving away from this purely because of cost. They're very like, whoa, how are we ever going to do this when I can't even get budget for X? Well, it doesn't have to blow the bank to come in and do these types of projects. And one thing that JP mentioned, there's a phased approach so that you can get pockets of investment over the duration of a project that may need that time anyway to get there to put those foundations in place. And I think one of the things that JP also mentioned is the flexibility in the delivery tier that's really required: third-party content, ease of commissioning, ease of adding metadata, and then the flexibility even in something like a CCMS to enable you to do like custom elements that you've got, which are going to appear certainly in more complex projects for sure. And then even the things like, output formats, and now we've got different formats we're pushing to, and all of those need work, whether that be PDF, whether it be Portal, whether it be third-party systems, LLMs. It's just getting wider and wider with this AI piece. But that's enough from us now. I think we've got a couple of questions out there. So thank you so much, JP, for joining us. We'll field these questions now and put it out there to the listeners to make sure that we answer any specifics that they've asked about. So Harry, have we got the questions in place?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, again, thank you very much both. That was fantastic. And again, appreciate everyone who did post a couple of questions in chat. So we have a few minutes until we're at the top of the hour. So first of all, we had a question on the client example slide 1. And so I think this probably will be best towards Rexway JP.
Yeah.
So what about the tagging of the contents during the migration to Word documents to DITA topics? Which policy has been selected?
Good question. There's two main points before handling any migration or conversion will be to spend time with the customer to really properly understand and learn about the architecture and the taxonomy. So if I can just explain really quickly what both are. Architecture would be the structure of where you're storing your information, how you accesses it. So whether it's by product line or by project. So for that specific customer, these two were important. So you do have product and projects. So that's one portion of it. So when you're building it, and after that by category of document, whether it's a maintenance manual, installation manual, it could be a lockout tagout procedures, for example, and all of this. So that would be more structure wise. And after that, within that document, when you're building your DITA map, your topics themselves, you are adding some attributes to really be more granular and to being able to search the information specifically for that, well, either product or project. So the both main ways, if I can say, are really used hand in hand to make sure that the data and the information is really well used for that specific case. And this is made in conjunction with that customer. So it's nothing that is, again, out of the box. We do have our preferences and our direction, even if we don't fully understand the reality of the customer. But after that, we just really sit down with the customer and say, okay, what is your need? What is your structure, your reality? And then we build the model with them. And when we are migrating and creating the data, we are trying it out. So if we see that, oh, we cannot properly search for that information to compile a document for this, we can adapt and we can revise. The better it is done at first, and the better it is laid out before really starting, that's the best, because it's definitely harder to change architecture or taxonomy, but everything is possible. So we're trying to do it right at first with all the reality of that customer. Hopefully that answers.
That's perfect. Thank you. So we have a second question, and this one came in around the important considerations slide.
Okay.
And the question is, any best practices for training large language models on how metadata elements that are set through DITA specializations contribute to the context of the information?
Wow.
I think that's quite a broad question, so I'll leave that to both presenters. But what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to take those slides down just so we can see the presenters properly.
That is a great question. I'm not sure we'll have time to address that in the 3 to 4 minutes left out. Andrew, do you want to give it a shot? Because it's I think, are you comfortable answering in a concise way, or you want me to try?
I think you see this more, but specializations in DITA are tricky.
Yes.
Even in deploying them into the portal, because again, how have you deployed those specializations? What do they mean?
Yes.
Because what the AI is looking for and what the portal is looking for and what the content is looking for is uniformity. And if you go off track, and the reason you go off track is because you need to, because you've got certain challenges that don't fit into that DITA framework. And really, again, it comes back to this custom element. Specializations are very, very, very tricky. Now, how do you sort that out in an AI? That is an amazing question.
Yes.
One of the things that I've seen in AI projects, and I was involved in a former life in some really, really big AI projects, is testing. So go out and start, and certainly get a subset of your content and start testing it using Q&A, and get a team together if you can, and put together as many questions as you can, or get a subset if you're able to get an internal team of engineers, get them asking questions, Q&A, that they would want from the chatbot or from whatever you're doing, your agentic AI projects or whatever it be, and see what those responses are bringing back. Because AI can surprise you. So what you think is not being picked up can be picked up, and what you think will be picked up won't be picked up. And I know that's not a perfect answer, but one of the things, certainly as you approach an AI project, is make sure that you've got time in there for testing. And make sure you've got
and making it learn
in place. Exactly.
And because what you describe, Andrew, it's testing, but at the same time, it's making the system learn. So it's basically showing the tool, showing the AI that, okay, when we're asking that question, what we expect is that answer. So that portion is really important. Just to do a side note on specialization on my side, it's the specialization, the S word, if I could call it. We always try, personally, with my company and on every project we work, to stay as far as possible as to specialization as possible, and use it only if really, really, really required and mandatory, because that specialization will create so many issues and problems down the road. Sometimes it's being seen as, but it's going to be easier to use. Okay, maybe right, but it will create a lot of complexity when you have new versions updated, when you have upgrades to a system, upgrades even to your LMS. Sorry, not LMS. I'm confusing my acronym. Sorry.
CCMS.
Not the CCMS, the learning tool, the chat. But there's another term. Anyway, sorry about that.
It will come to you immediately when this ends, you think?
Definitely. It's always like that. But it's really to maximize this usability, is to if possible, stay away from specialization. For those of you that already have specialization, it would be a case-by-case situation to analyze and to see how that learning can be improved to your specialization, basically.
Yeah, and even importing systems, which is definitely
Yes.
for us. When you port systems, if you've got specializations, that content migration, and sometimes systems themselves are enforcing those specializations.
Yes,
They've
that's
moved
true.
away from the pure DITA model, and that's painful in itself and hidden in our industry. So be careful.
That is true. That is true.
Final question, Harry. I know we're just slightly over time, but I think, have we got time for one more?
We're at the top of the hour, but yes, we have one final question. Can you provide some basic metrics? For example, how much time for porting in DITA 3000 pages of documentation? If these contents are already deployed into a CCMS, the time can be reduced.
Oh yeah. In a nutshell, a simple answer is yes. If the system is already in the CCMS, to migrate it, it's definitely quicker because you do have clear information and clear correlation to whatever you want to bring it. So you can define that element, go bring in to that element, and after that, just build your taxonomy, your attributes, and your metadata that you can script it into a really efficient manner. To use metrics like this into migration content, unfortunately, it's not possible to bring those information if it's not structured, because an unstructured document it varies, it depends. So sometime a document will look pretty, but it's unusable because it would be just basically flat, just text, just laying down with tabs and paragraph and information that looks good, but it's like if I would handwrite something on a piece of paper. So you need to learn that system. You basically need to pre-process every single file in order to map it to the old stuff, in order to bring it to remap it to the new stuff. So sometimes you need to analyze, does it worth it to really script it and to create with the conversion methodology, automation.
Yeah.
Thank you. So automation in order to bring it more efficiently, or it's just to do it manually. Sometime it turns out that, and okay, man, that question can go long. I'll make a side parenthesis because it made me realize sometime also, if you're going from an unstructured document to DITA, you don't just want to import it and to convert it, you want to improve it. So by improving it, if you want to automate it, it's really, really hard because you will need to manually go look and question yourself in every document. How can I make it more usable and better for the data and for the whatever we want to achieve, whether it's for AI, whether it's for delivery, whether it's for web-based or PDF or anything, any given needs. So that reality alone is important to analyze. And one of our customers, that's exactly what we did. The goal was not just to convert the information into data, it was to make it better. So if you want to make it better, you cannot automate it because you don't know what you need to change. So the answer, the simple answer to the question, if it is already into a CCMS, is it easy to migrate it to DITA? It's definitely easier. Is it automatic? No, but it's definitely easier to migrate. So cost saving is definitely there. If you're going from an unstructured document, Word, FrameMaker, that sort, it will vary. If there is a template with styles, with a really structured document in the unstructured tools, we can script it, but it will be a case-by-case situation. And after that, we decide whether it's worth it to convert it, migrate it, just use it as is. There's always more than one way to take these challenges.
Excellent.
Perfect. Yeah, good stuff. Right. So thank you very much, all. I think that brings us to the end of this webinar. We're currently 3 minutes past the hour.
Yeah,
give everyone a little bit of time back. No. The answers were perfect. Again, people ask questions, we need a couple of answers. Anyway, no, you've got multiple thanks in the chat. So again, Andrew, Jean-Philippe, thank you very much and appreciate the time. And
thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And feel free to reach out to Jean-Philippe and Andrew on LinkedIn if you have any other questions. But again, thank you for your time and attendance, and we hope to see you on the next one. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.